I hope the American people understand that this is a clear contrast between who stands on your side and who stands on the side of special interests. How is it possible that members of this chamber find it difficult when the House of Representatives, in a near unanimous vote, could say that the subpoena powers necessary for the commission to be able to get to the bottom of what happened could pass unanimously there, save for one vote, and yet cannot even proceed here? Cannot even proceed here. This isn't rocket science. It's common sense to most Americans. We need to fully learn the lessons of this disaster with a thorough investigation, not protect oil companies from having their negligence exposed. We need to get answers from BP and Transocean and Halliburton and everyone else, including the federal agencies. Not give apologies to them, as I have seen Republicans suggest that we should apologize to BP for making sure that the residents of the Gulf region are held whole. We need to know the truth, and the commission needs the power to get the truth. So who are you protecting? And what are we hiding here?
There's the key question. Who are you protecting? What are we hiding here? What you have seen is prima facie evidence of the fact that the US is in the grip of corporatism. The power of BP and other special interests is so great. Screw the people. We'll just bury the commissional hearing, presidential hearing, we'll just bury it. And it'll just pass, and the people in the Gulf Coast will just leave them to their fate. Because most of those people in the Gulf Coast area have no medical cover. I mean, there are, where we see pictures of healthy people being attacked by flesh-eating bacteria, and they're literally just sticking plaster over it because that's the only thing they can do. And BP, neither BP nor the federal government are really making any effort. Like I said, this is a population reduction event. In the second half of the evening, I'm going to try and answer that question. Who are you protecting? What are we hiding here? And I'm going to show you what happens when anybody tries to expose them. So we'll take a 15 minutes. Those who are coming back in here. Okay. Well, a few will wander in as we go through anyway. So we left the first half with Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey asking the question, who are you protecting? What are we hiding here? I mean, there's part of me that thinks that he probably knows the answers to that. More than likely knows the answers to that, but basically that's all he can say on the public record. What I'm going to share with you now, I could only have put this together having worked in the US. What I'm going to share with you now is based on my personal experience of working in the US. Because in the US, there is the corporate hierarchy, but then there is a hidden hierarchy. And the euphemism for the hidden hierarchy is the good old boy network. If you hear somebody say, oh, he's a good old boy, then basically you're dealing with somebody who is within the hidden hierarchy. And this is the hidden hierarchy. Now some of these names are going to be familiar to you. I mean, Skull and Bones. Everybody's heard of Skull and Bones thanks to George Bush and John Kerry contesting the 2005 presidential election, because both of them were bonesmen. Now this is really quite remarkable, just statistically it's quite remarkable, because Skull and Bones is unique to Yale University, and only 15 graduates are inducted into Skull and Bones each year. So that at any one time, there's give or take about 500 and something bonesmen alive. And probably only about 350, maybe 400 of them are active. So to have two of those running for the presidential position at the same time is really statistically incredible. But of course, nothing happens by chance anyway. I mean, it's not random at all. Any stretch of the imagination. So when Bush was in office, and of course, the Bushes, 3 generations of Bushes have been members of Skull and Bones, George Bush Sr. and of course Prescott Bush. And Skull and Bones have effectively had the ascendancy in the hidden hierarchy, certainly since prior to the Second World War. Dominated by the likes of Avril Harriman, Dulles and Prescott Bush. And of course Prescott Bush was had a bunch of money taken off him because of course he was profiteering on the back of German rearmament. But when George W. Bush was in office, I mean, he certainly made sure that all the key positions on the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, certainly within the White House, and in industry and media were all Bonesmen. So that he could make sure that the agenda, his agenda, was pursued. In reality, of course, Bush wasn't pursuing his agenda, he was pursuing somebody else's agenda. He was the front man for somebody else's agenda. The president is always just the puppet, and that has never been more apparent than is current with Obama. This guy is the most ineffectual human being to have been put into the presidential office. You know, the joke in America is if you ask Obama 5 minutes before he goes in front of the cameras what he's going to talk about, he hasn't got a clue. And if you ask him 5 minutes after he's come off from the cameras what he just talked about, he hasn't got a clue. Because if you watch the guy, you watch him, I mean, he's at the podium, and if you turn the sound down, it's like watching somebody watching tennis. And of course, if the teleprompter breaks down, the guy is totally screwed. I mean, Tony Blair was the consummate actor. You know, Tony Blair was able to learn a script. I mean, he was able to present an ability to talk authoritatively on a subject he knew nothing about. And he did it, you know, I mean, he did it with aplomb. I mean, he's probably, you know, the most accomplished. I mean, better than Clinton, you know, which is why Clinton doesn't like Blair. But Obama's the opposite end of the spectrum. And there are some Google clips, actually, where the teleprompter breaks down. And, I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. Because he just stops. He goes, no, we've read that bit. No, go back. No, forward. I mean, the guy just can't ad-lib. And, of course, when recently, it was the first time in history that anybody has ever used a teleprompter in the Indian Parliament. And you can imagine how that went down in India. Anyway, so yeah, he's just a puppet from behind the scenes. But Skull and Bones, being limited to Yale, of course, you then need an organisation that effectively embraces the best and the brightest from all the other universities, and that's an organisation called Phi Beta Kappa. Now, Phi Beta Kappa is much older than Skull and Bones. In fact, Phi Beta Kappa was initiated and founded on the 5th of December, 1776. And the folklore is that it was pulled together by a group of people who were pissed off that they hadn't been invited to put their signatures on the Declaration of Independence a few months previously. Whether there's any truth in that, I don't know. That's just the folklore. But Phi Beta Kappa covers every other university in the US. And so once again, the fraternity is tasked with identifying the best and the brightest, so that you make sure that all the potential shakers and movers are pulled into the fraternity before, of course, they realise what they're getting into. Because at university, all that everybody knows is if you're invited to be Skull and Bones at Yale, or Phi Beta Kappa or anywhere else, you're made for life. You will never want for anything. You will have everything you could ever need in the consumerist, materialist realm. All you've got to do is toe the line. So Phi Beta Kappa pretty much sort of fills all the other key positions not filled by the Bonesmen. My conjecture is, and of course the question isn't likely to be asked anytime soon, but my conjecture is that Robert Kaluza is a member of Phi Beta Kappa. And that's why Kaluza was not the architect of what occurred on the rig. He was simply the mechanic. He was simply the guy put on the rig on April the 16th to replace Ronald Sepulveda, who was taken off to attend the course in Lafayette. And he was instructed to make this incident happen. And he was told how to do it. All you've got to do is tell Halliburton they're not going to put 23 spacers in, they put 8. And when Schlumberger tell you that the rig's about to blow, you ignore them. And it's as easy as that.